Throughout the past century, the question of what economic system is the best has been on the minds of many countries. This is a very intriguing question to see what economic systems are really the best option. I may not have a degree in economics, but I've watched the gap the United States between the United States and China's economy shrink every year since I was born. In 2008, the US economy was at $14.7 trillion and Chinese was at $4.6 trillion. The US in 2024 is at $28 trillion, with China being at $18 trillion. This has been a major success for China, with a frightening reality for the rest of the world that its unreliable superpower may soon be the strongest economy on earth. This topic is important to pursue as two very different economies are getting increasing closer in GDP, and will soon be the next race of superpowers. I believe that capitalism is not the most successful and is the most corrupt form of economics. Other economic systems only fail due to poor management and far surpass capitalism. First controversy pointed to the fact that capitalism has had the longest running start, being around since the 16th century, with communism only starting to be used in 1922 in Russia. While capitalism is used by the world's strongest governments, how can we fairly compare to other forms of economics that have only been around for a fraction of the time? The use of communism in China was only implemented in 1949. To say that this is worse is unreasonable because it has had less time to flourish and exist as an economic system. Another controversy is the idea that capitalist society is better for the people. In a world where Karl Marx's teachings are upheld in a communist society, they will always win. If every person works with the intent of the state, they will be more satisfied with their lives, knowing that they are working for not only their own prosperity, but for the community. When this thinking can be effectively implemented into people, it will ultimately favor all members. This has unfortunately never been effectively implemented, and that is why it is unfair to say capitalism is better. The first connection will be to the Soviet Union, the original adopters of communism, and the most famous case of it being used, a key example of the failure to apply communism. The principles of communism were instilled in the people, helping the government to control their citizens. But corruption in the ranks of the Soviet Union led to its demise. The corruption that got in the way of the experiment of communism, leading to it being cut short in one of the most crucial moments when it was equal with capitalism. This was the only time where we could have seen a capitalist versus communist competition, where they were almost equal. No other economic system has been this close to capitalism until modern day China. This connects back to a failure of the teachings of Karl Marx, saying that when a workforce is too alienated from their own factory owners, it will lead to revolution. While a revolution did not happen, a gap of connection between workers and government did. A gap like this led to the collapse of the Soviet Union, and terrible government spending hurt the people. The next connection is to the invisible hand, a capitalist idea made up by Adam Smith, a theory that tries to justify the idea of a free market economy that would benefit all. This theory states that when individuals go out to work for something, it will help to reinvest in the community, helping all. Though this idea of pursuing one's interests will ultimately feed into the leniency on the use of exploitation and greed, the two things that capitalism is based on. An adoption of the invisible hand helps to justify child labor in the early Industrial Revolution, comforting the exploiter with the idea that they were giving back to the community. This propaganda being fed to these people will only hinder further development of the community, crushing those below to help a small minority maintain life at the top. A mentality like the invisible hand, which is the backbone that moves capitalist society, is terrible for the people, only bringing divided classes and a rigid power structure. The next connection will be Observe Norway, a social democracy that may not be a global superpower but supports its people extremely well. Norway is a leading country in social ranking, giving out many services to its citizens, helping to improve the lives of all with one of the lowest homeless rates on the planet at 0.005%. This is a true show of success. Norway may not be able to fall in these strict, rigid categories of economies, but it takes a lot of aspects from socialism. Norway's government has complete control over their oil reserves, and instead of privatizing this resource, they can give back to the people of the country for generations to come. This more socialist approach has helped guarantee the people security and social services, a true show of how socialism can be used and triumph over its capitalist parallel. I believe that capitalism is not successful and is the most corrupt form of economy. Other economies only fail due to poor management, but when they do have proper management, they far surpass capitalism. In a time like the modern day, where the gap between top economies and the use of different systems has never been closer, this topic is very enticing. The race between capitalism and socialism is so close where we have begun to truly question what is a better economic system. A time where leading nations in quality of life and overall happiness practice more socialist approach. It has planted seeds of doubt in some people's minds, raised to think that one system was correct and the other was a sign of the enemy. In the modern day has spiked these questions, sparking debates amongst people and arguments on whether capitalism is truly how we should continue governing our economics.